Well, let's get more on that story with Alistair Jones, an independent political commentator. Thank you so much for your time. I'm wondering, do you think that all of this could mean the end for Keir Starmer?
It will depend. If it transpires that Keir Starmer has lied and that he had been informed, then we can expect his resignation with immediate effect. If not, it's going to rumble on and on. Now, bear in mind, in the UK, we've got a series of elections coming up in less than 3 weeks in Scotland, Wales, London, and across parts of England. And Labour are expecting to do very badly in those, as are the Conservatives. And it's just going to be another thing that is going to be counting against Keir Starmer. But in the short term, I don't see him resigning. I see him carrying on.
So if he gets the chop, it might happen after those May elections. The Prime Minister says he was not told that Peter Mandelson had failed his security vetting. Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. Number one is he may not have asked about the vetting because you would assume the vetting was passed, otherwise you would be told. But also, the Foreign Office has got a bit of a reputation as being a bit of a rogue. If you go back in the UK to the 1980s, there was a TV series called Yes, Prime Minister. It was a comedy. But in several of the episodes on there, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office was doing its own thing, ignoring what the Prime Minister wanted, ignoring what the Foreign Secretary wanted, and sometimes the Foreign Secretary did not even know what his office was doing. Now, okay, that was a comedy. It was a satire, but it had a huge grain of truth in it, in that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office does its own thing. It sees itself as representing the UK overseas rather than the Prime Minister. So there's always been a conflict between the FCO and other government departments and the Prime Minister. It's just come to fruition a lot more publicly than ever before.
The Conservative Party had, I think, 3 Prime Ministers in the 5 years before they were ousted in elections by the Labour Party. Labour came in promising change, but do you think Britain is actually heading for just another period of political turbulence?
I think we've had political turbulence ever since the Brexit referendum. It's just got a lot worse at particular times. So when the Conservatives were in power those 5 years, yes, huge turmoil. And we're seeing a bit of it again. And it's being exacerbated by international affairs. So the situation in Iran, the closure of the Straits of Hormuz to some countries, all of that is playing out. And it's just making things bigger and more confusing and more complex. So we've got Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the stories around him as well, with the Epstein files, as well as Mandelson. There's just an awful lot going on. Now, much of this is actually out of the control of the Prime Minister, and he is having to respond to what is going on. And what has been interesting is that if you look at opinion polls prior to this happening, his standing in opinion polls over the last week or so have actually increased quite significantly, and Labour's position has increased significantly because of Keir Starmer standing up to Donald Trump. So I think what's happening just now is going to knock him back again. But as I say, come the local elections and elections in Scotland, Wales and London, I'm expecting Labour and the Conservatives to do very, very badly.
If he goes, is there a clear successor in the Labour Party?
No. Angela Rayner, the former deputy leader, could be one, but there's a lot of people in the Labour Party that are not keen on her at all. There basically isn't one. So what we would actually see is if he was to be removed or if he was to resign, we would see civil war breaking out within the Labour Party. But there'd be a number of different groups, different persons throwing their hat in the ring, speculating, if you like. The reality is, at the moment, there isn't a viable alternative to Sir Keir Starmer.
Thank you so much for your time. That's Alistair Jones, an independent political commentator.